Good evening. We'd like to welcome everyone to the Planning and Zoning meeting tonight, January 7th, 2016. First order of business will be to introduce our newest member and welcome her to the board, Ms. Stacy Blondin. So, Stacy, welcome.
Thank you.
Tonight we do not have any public hearings on the agenda, so we'll just move right into the regular business meeting and open up with the minutes from December 3rd, 2015 meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as submitted.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Costello, second by Mr. Deach to approve the minutes as submitted. Any questions or comments at this time? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Mr. Deach?
Yes.
Mr. Cullum?
Yes.
Mr. Barton?
Yes.
Mr. Schwab?
I abstain, I wasn't here.
Mr. Durbin?
Yes.
Mr. Gerloff?
Yes.
Mrs. Blondin?
I abstain, I wasn't here either.
Mr. Costello?
Yes.
We have
Six yeses.
6 yeses, no nos, and 2 abstentions. So that motion passes. Next order of business will be the Warren County Fair Association Demo Derby coming up.
It's a special event permit application, SEP 16, for the Warren County Fair Association for a demo derby on December 18th, 2015. Paul Owenby, care of Warren County Fair Board, submitted a special event permit application for a demo derby event to be held at the Warren County Fairgrounds on April 23rd, 2016.
And I'd like to step off the dais for these next 3 items as I have a business relationship with the applicant. So
Thank
I'll
you,
do
Ms.
that while you
Okay.
take up the matter.
Thank you, Mr. Costello. We'll replace you at the diocese with Mrs. Scott. Come on up, sis. We just started. All you missed was the minutes from the last meeting. So. We are now talking about the Warren County Fair Association special event permit. Scott is asked to be excused since he has a business relationship. So, open the floor for any questions or comments.
I guess I have one question. It's the Warren County Fairgrounds that host events for the area. Why is this coming before the P&Z board instead of a staff review?
That's part of the code.
Seems
The
like a lot of
OPR
it is-
district, that's part of the requirements for special event approval. per the
Seems like a
code.
lot of cost to the fair board, and
There's no cost to the fair board,
there's no cost for this.
0.
Okay.
That's something that kind of worked out between the working.
Yeah, and
matter
this is at the
Okay.
request of the fair board. They
Right.
had us change the code
Okay.
for these specific items.
Okay. It just seems that it could almost be a staff review to yes or no versus taking it before public meetings. So that was my question.
Good question. But that was something that we'd spent quite a bit of time.
Yeah,
back and
we've
forth on
actually
that.
revised the code 2 different times since I've been here, working with the fair board to try to work out what works best for them. I think they see it as not a safety net, but a benefit to the Fair Association that the city's looking at different types of events out there too, to make sure that it's good for the neighborhood and the city.
I would say the only thing I can see is sound ordinance, which all cities have sound ordinances.
And then they get a noise permit if needed.
Right.
But, yeah, this
Okay.
is really working with them and what they've asked the city to do.
Okay, very good.
And we'll do that in honor of Mr. Dickey because this was his kind of baby. He,
Yep.
God rest his soul, he was on top of that for us. So
Very
we
good.
appreciated all the work he put into that and tried to work it in. So good stuff. Anybody else have any questions or comments?
I do have one question. Maybe I missed it reading through here, but the demo derby is for the benefit of,
Just the Fair
is for the
Association.
fair
Fair
board
Fair board's
itself?
putting it on themselves, yeah.
Okay, all right.
And it's a way to get rid of some old cars.
Yeah, this is one that they're putting on themselves, not that, I mean, a lot of times they come in and some other organization, but
Right,
in this
right,
situation.
that was my question.
Right.
Yeah, normally those band boosters do their mud bog like around Mother's Day, I think.
Right. This one's in April, is that correct?
Yes, April 23rd.
And basically, the setup is the same as it always
Mhm.
is.
Entertain a motion?
I move that we accept the special event permit as submitted by the Warren County Fair Board.
I second it.
We have a motion by Mr. Deach, second by Mr. Gerloff to approve the Warren County Fair Association special event permit for their demo derby in April. Any other questions or comments at this time? Roll call vote?
Mrs. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Barton?
Yes.
Mr. Schwab?
Yes.
Mr. Durbin?
Yes.
Mr. Gerloff?
Yes.
Mrs. Blondin?
Yes.
Mr. Costello? Abstain. Sorry. Mr. Deach?
Yes.
Mr. Cullum?
Yes.
Motion passes 8-0 with one abstention. And those will come in front of the Board of Aldermen on what date this month?
19th, I believe.
Tuesday the 19th?
Yeah, Tuesday, 19th.
Okay. Next order of business will be the Warren County Fair Association special event permit for the motocross practice.
This is a special event permit application, SCP-17, from the Warren County Fair Association for motocross practice on December the 18th, 2015. Paul Owenby, care of Warren County Fair Board, submitted a special event permit application for motocross practice sessions to be held at the Warren County Fairgrounds on April the 9th, May the 14th, June the 11th, August the 13th, September the 10th or the 17th, and October the 8th. And Kevin, part of this here is to make it more convenient for the fair board. He's going to put all the dates out there. If for some reason there's a rain out or something,
Sure.
he'll just give us notice and we'll note it in the file. But
Okay.
basically approving the event, and he's just letting us know up front which days they're going to try to take care of it.
As I read that on this and the horse show
Mhm.
also.
So we're trying to be as convenient with them as we can.
Okay.
Anybody have any questions or comments about the motocross practice sessions they're asking for? Hearing none, we'll entertain a motion for that.
I make a motion, we approve the special events application for the motocross.
I second it.
Have a motion by Mr. Gerloff, second by Mr. Durbin to approve the Warren County Fair Association motocross practice special event permit for all those dates mentioned in the... Any other questions or comments? Roll call vote?
Mr. Schwab?
Yes.
Mr. Durbin?
Yes.
Mr. Gerloff?
Yes.
Mrs. Blondin?
Yes.
Mr. Deach?
Yes.
Mr. Cullum?
Yes.
Mrs. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Barton?
Yes, motion passes 8-0 with one abstention.
Really, I'm absent.
Oh, you're absent, that's correct. Thank you for that correction. So the motion, both of them passes 8-0. Next order of business will be the Warren County Fair Association Horse Show Special Events Permit, which is the next item up.
It's a special event permit application, SCP-18, for Warren County Fair Association horse shows on December 18th, 2015. Paul Owenby, care of Warren County Fair Board, submitted a special event permit application for horse show events to be held at the Warren County Fairgrounds on June the 4th, June the 11th as a rain date, July 9th or July 16th, August 6th, September 17th, October the 1st or October the 8th as a rain date, and October 15th.
Anybody have any questions or comments about that application tonight?
Is this for the benefit of the fair board as well, or is this for the benefit of aged horses, or what? I couldn't determine from what I saw here.
Well, it looks like did they contract that out for another company to run that, the Lincoln County?
I think they're working with the Lincoln County all breed fun horse shows setup,
Okay.
but I know the fair board is who's going to be doing the refreshments and the food and that out there, so I'm sure it probably benefits both of them, but I
Okay.
really can't speep for Paul. That would be my guess.
Make a motion to approve this special event application for the horse show as presented.
I'll second that.
We have a motion by Mrs. Scott, second by Mr. Schwab, to approve the Warren County Fair Association Horse Show Special Event Permit on the dates permitted. Any other questions or comments at this time? Roll call vote?
Mr. Durbin?
Yes.
Mr. Gerloff?
Yes.
Mrs. Blondin?
Yes.
Mr. Deach?
Yes.
Mr. Cullum?
Yes.
Mrs. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Barton?
Yes.
Mr. Schwab?
Yes.
Motion passes 8-0. And next order of business, we'll invite Mr. Costello back to the table. And we'll open up the discussion for the planning and zoning meeting procedures policy that you got in the mail and had a chance to read through. So order of business tonight is, this is the draft we're looking at, and then whether or not we're just approving it.
Yes, yes, I went ahead, in your packet, you have a copy of the exact policy that the Board of Aldermen
Saw that.
approved, and they had recommended if the Planning and Zoning Commission would approve a similar one. So I took theirs and just tweaked it to match for P and Z. And that's the draft copy that you have.
And basically, it just allows for public comment during a discussion if they're recognized by the chairman of the board, correct?
Yes, during the public hearing and also during the regular
During the
meeting
meeting.
session.
Which on the most part, we have allowed within reason.
Mhm.
And we've been I'm very good about that, so. In my 18 or 19 years I've been on here, it's very seldom has anybody not been able to talk.
And Gary's here, but I believe part of it is that sometimes during the public hearing,
They
not
are
everybody
confused.
has the packet, so they might not know exactly
agree.
what
Right. And I did
they're
read in there where.
discussing.
Yeah, and I will agree in there that if I just need to remind myself too, that maybe at the beginning of the meeting to inform the members that you're allowed to speak now, or you can speak on behalf, just let us know if you have a question. Because you're right, I have seen a lot of times where we've actually had to lead them into, because you knew they were here for a reason, and then they didn't know what they were,
Mhm.
out of respect.
Yep.
So I know I've had that happen a couple times where I've kind of led them to come and talk, because I knew that they were here to talk, so. I read through it.
I think it pretty much reflects what we actually do.
That's what I mean, and that's exactly what I was hoping. When I read it, that's what I was hoping for. I was hoping there was something not glaring that, oh, we don't do that, but I did not feel uncomfortable with it at all, so.
I'll make a motion that we approve the amendment as worded for meeting procedures for the Planning and Zoning Commission meetings.
I'll second it.
Have a motion by Mr. Costello, second by Mr. Durbin, to approve the planning and zoning meeting procedure policies draft that was presented tonight, to put it into place. Any other questions or comments at this time? Roll call vote?
Mr. Gerloff?
Yes.
Mrs. Blondin?
Oh, yes, abstain, that's fine.
Mr. Costello?
Yes.
Mr. Deach?
Yes.
Mr. Cullum?
Yes.
Mrs. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Barton?
Yes.
Mr. Schwab?
Yes.
Mr. Durbin?
Yes.
Motion passes 8-0 with one abstention. And the next order of business, which was tabled at the last meeting.
Yes. Well, he's not here.
Not mentioning any names. But the next order of business will be discussion regarding trailers and mobile homes within the city limits.
And I don't have a whole lot prepared, to be quite honest.
That's fine.
But I was,
start?
yeah, I was approached by someone who had concern with some of the trailers, the age of some of the trailers that are being moved into the city. And basically the average age of the ones coming in, or the average is they're from 93 to 96 models, so which puts them over 20 years old. The city of Truesdale does have a ordinance that says you can't bring in a trailer that's over 10 years old. It also provides a variance process if you have maybe a trailer that's over 10 years old that's in good shape. The county does not have anything that addresses that. They did look at it when they redid their codes 3 years ago, and after some comments from the public, and I guess they kind of had some people that were very against that because they had maintained their homes in good shape, and if they wanted to move them from here to here, they should be allowed to do that. So I did bring what Truesdale has, and I'll pass that out. And I don't know if this is something we want to look at, if it's not something we want to look at, but since it was brought to my attention, I thought we at least needed to, as a public entity, I just thought it needed to be brought up, and I don't really know that we need to have a discussion on it this evening, but that's basically what my thoughts are.
Who would enforce this? Would it be up to the zoning officer to check on that, or how is, in other words, if I drive by someplace and I see a trailer, I don't know whether it's 10 years old or 15 years old.
And once it's, like, as far as the way I understand what you would be looking at is, if I put it here when it's 9.5 years old, it can stay here until I move it off. But I can't bring one in that's 20 years old and put it on a new on a new lot. So I would think that there's some type of permitting process when those are brought in, or they
No.
have to have an
There's not.
electrical.
No.
There's no electrical permit.
inspections, but there's no permit required to bring a trailer into the trailer parks.
So it may be a permitting process. Like I said, I think it would be.
I think it would fall on, from someone who did this back in 1992 or 91, 1990. 1990, I moved a trailer into the city. There was no, to my knowledge, I can't remember back that far, but I remember going through the couple that owned the property, and to me it would look like it would be upon their shoulders. I think it would be a win-win for them. They don't need something. I could see that they would need help keeping older things out. You know what I mean? I mean, the couple that owned ours, which was where the trailer court was, where the movie theater was immaculate. They were awesome. They were awesome to live down there with those folks. They did a great job.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as the year of the trailer, you pay taxes on that, and it's just like a car. I think it's still under that type of tax. So
Well, some of them are. They kind of depends
depends
on how
on
they're
what,
set up.
right? If you're on
what
a
kind of
foundation or
tax you
whatever.
pay, yeah.
Are trailers allowed in the city limits other than in a trailer park? I mean,
Yes.
manufactured homes, that falls under a whole different, that's the same as a house, as long as it's on a foundation. But if it comes in just a skirting around it, is that allowed on any lot?
Yes, if it meets the setback requirements
Hmm.
and the minimum size.
That sounds like a restriction to restrict them.
Are you positive of that? I thought
Yes.
I thought the city had a moratorium on, they used to have a moratorium on mobiles, not on foundations, on individual lots outside of parks.
Not that I'm aware of, but I can sure check.
I think,
Well, I
I
didn't-
think we should have a restriction
I
not
don't think I
allowing
had-
them other than trailer parks.
I don't think I had much choice at that
Well,
time.
But you were in a whether it was a grandfathered.
No, what I'm saying is though, like you said, though, I mean, I probably didn't look into it, but I mean, at that time, we had the Sunset across from KWRE, and you had that one.
Right.
Which were both nice, and the one in Sunset was full.
Right.
And this one, they actually expanded after I moved in there.
Right. And maybe Alderman Ock can recall, it seems to me like and working in insurance, I can't recall having a freestanding mobile home come into Warren County in the 20-plus years I've been doing, or into the city of Warrenton in the 20-plus years I've been doing insurance. And my understanding was that you can only bring a mobile home into the existing parks. I don't know if that's right.
That's
Do you
what I,
recall?
that's what I thought.
It kind of sounds familiar, like being in real estate. It just seemed like there was something that, unless it was already a mobile home park, I don't think you could just bring them and set them
Yeah,
in a particular place.
you know, I don't think you could take, for instance, Warrior Ridge subdivision, whether they've got their own restrictions and limitations or whatever. I don't believe the city code would allow you to bring a manufactured home that is tied down on posts and piers or whatever, as opposed to on a permanent foundation and be placed there.
Yeah, on that type of situation, I think you could bring a double wide if you put it on a basement or something.
Then
Because
it's-
we've done that over
yeah.
on Roosevelt or
Right,
whatever.
because then it's taxed as real estate instead of
Yeah.
personal property. So
Right.
I think there's some wrinkle in there, I just don't know exactly where it is. And I don't know if Mr. Ock, do you recall anything similar?
Thank you, Mr. Rock, for coming to the podium.
Gary, when I was before on the ward, I think we had discussions on Roosevelt because we had people who wanted to bring in manufactured homes, and the long debate was, is this really a mobile home or was it a manufactured home? And what I recall was that as long as they disabled the vehicle so that it didn't have any wheels or ability to move, they were allowed to go in on Roosevelt. I don't know
That's
if
what I
that.
think, they gotta take the wheels and the tongue off.
Right,
and
right.
then
So
it
as
could
long
be
as they disabled
set
it so they
anywhere.
couldn't move, the manufactured home would be considered just like a brick and frame home would be. So I guess in theory, a person could go into any subdivision, put a manufactured home in there, and that would be legitimate, because I don't know if the code restricts that at all.
And I can ask Chris again, but
Yeah.
we've had this discussion, and he told me a trailer could,
Yeah, I mean, that's.
under them circumstances, could be on any lot if it meets the
Because it's not
minimum
considered a
square
trailer,
foot
because
and the
as soon as they.
setback requirements.
Yeah. As soon as they take the wheels off and the hitch and all that, it's no longer a trailer, it's a manufactured home. So we don't restrict the manufactured homes from being in the city.
Was that for
That's
a,
the issue. Pardon me?
was that for a single wide or for a double wide?
I don't think we had that distinction, as long as it has the proper square footage
Uh-huh.
that meets the code that a regular brick or frame home would meet, that wasn't an issue.
And it also, they'll have a title just as a car on a lot of them. You get into you have your trailers, your manufactured homes, your modular homes, those come in and they're considered a house, period. A lot of them are finished on site. So there is no distinction.
Yeah, and the other thing I can clearly recall is, I think the properties on the corner of probably Roosevelt and Flora, there was an older mobile home there, and the landowner wanted to take it off and replace it with another mobile home, and we said the city does not permit you to do that. And so his proposal was, okay, I'm gonna leave this junked up trailer sitting here. Well, the city said, okay, given the option of leaving the junk trailer here or allowing another mobile home to go in, the city allowed another mobile home to go in. And that was probably 15, 20 years ago, so I'm not sure the history of it since then. So, I mean, because it's a real issue is, because I know there's a couple places in town where there's mobile homes that are in significant need of repair, and we don't really have the ability to go in and do an interior inspection under the current statute, which I think is problematic. And so, you know, in thinking about this, I mean, one of the things I think, this is broader scope, I think the city probably needs to think about the concept of getting an occupancy permit, having the ability to go into any structure and see if it truly is livable.
And I was going to say that,
Right.
in response to that comment, there are probably houses that
Right, right.
are in the same
And most
situation.
municipalities do that. My daughter moved into Maplewood a couple of years ago, and she couldn't move in until an occupancy permit was issued, and the inspector came out and checked circuits and to make sure it was livable. And so to me, you know, that's part of this issue too, whether it's a home or whether it's a mobile home or a manufactured home. What kind of standard do we have to make sure that the product is being, you know, safe for an individual moving it in? Or is that even our role as a government? But, you know, I certainly think a lot of communities think that's their role. But, so we have these, and I think your point is right, is, you know, I don't know if manufactured homes deteriorate as quickly as brick and frame homes do, But if somebody's brick and frame home was deteriorating, you would come in and condemn that unless it was unsafe. So you probably have to apply the same standards you would to a brick or frame home as you would to a mobile home, so. But that's kind of the only two issues in the history of it, but I do believe that we currently would allow a manufactured home to be put on any lot.
Thanks.
I
Sorry to
agree.
put you on the spot.
No, I agree. And in definitions, where it's talking about modular buildings and structures, it talks about if they're connected where they're incapable of being separated and moved again, then they would meet the building codes and be considered real property. So, I believe when I talked to Chris, he told me that was the
Okay.
case, but I'll verify it.
Okay.
And let you know at next meeting.
I guess my question then, this is a fairly complex issue, and it brings with it more than just an age limit potential. It would seem to me like we probably ought to look at this more comprehensively if we're going to look at it at all, and address some of those issues, because the point about the habitability of a residence, whether it's manufactured or whether it's a conventional construction home, that's a concern. And oftentimes it's the homes that are rental as opposed to owner-occupied homes that are suffering the most for condition. So that might be something to roll in. It seems to me like having some model ordinances and having some review by city staff to look at some model ordinances would be a starting point. I sure don't feel comfortable in trying to lay out, all of us together, to lay out a set of guidelines and then miss some things without really doing a full, thorough review of it.
And we may review it and decide maybe it's really not where we wanted to go, but
So do we need a motion then to?
For me to do
authorize-
research, I would need the P and Z Commission to instruct me to do that, not just a single member.
Okay, well, I would make a motion pursuant to Mrs. Scott's proposal that the city staff begin the process of reviewing model ordinances as to how manufactured homes and mobile homes are governed, and how we may want to then adopt changes in our own code.
Do we want to broaden that to include homes, in other words, housing that is not in good condition other than mobile homes or manufactured homes?
I'm not opposed to reviewing that. I think that might be a separate consideration from whether we want some type of an age restriction on manufactured homes when they are first placed in the community.
and I think we could probably look at both of them at the same time.
Yeah.
That's
But-
my
but-
point.
But I would think they might be too, I think if you have an occupancy permit process, every time there's a change in occupancy, just like we do on commercial business, for instance, that would, to me, would be a separate ordinance from whatever potential age restrictions or other limitations we might place on manufactured homes. It doesn't mean we can't consider it all as part of the same discussion, but I think they might be two separate items to adopt, because some people might feel like one is worthwhile, but the other is not.
And do you?
I'm not saying I do, I just.
No, I
And it's actually under property maintenance.
Right.
It'd be under property maintenance code. And do you all have a copy of our current property maintenance code that we're following?
It's online.
Yeah, it's online. But I think what Mr. Ock was saying is that in addition to property maintenance, that we don't currently have any process to assess whether a home is really safe for occupancy when a new family may be moving in as a tenant, or a new family may be moving in where a home is up for purchase. And, we know that it's a buyer beware type of economy, but at the and we do have typically some inspections and things like that when a home changes hands. But that doesn't mean that a home that's got dangerous wiring, or,
Yeah, the
for that
only-
matter, we don't even know whether the smoke detectors are operable when a family purchases a home.
Currently, the only occupancy permits are issued for new construction.
Right, right. And so, so to me, I think there's value in that discussion and investigating whether the city of Warrenton wants to move in that direction. Although I wouldn't want to couple the vote on that question with a vote on whether there's a certain age beyond which we don't want mobile homes to be placed here. So I would say doing that research would be great to be done at the same time, and we could talk about it in the same meeting, but I would like us to consider them as separate issues.
Yeah, I have no objection to that.
I'll second that motion.
All right.
We have a motion by Mr. Costello, second by Mrs. Scott, to give city staff permission to start researching those issues. Anybody have any other questions or comments or concerns? And in advance, thank you for the time that you put into that stuff and giving us homework.
Well, if this goes through, Jack's probably going to need a little more help.
Looks like I got 7 or 8 good volunteers right here.
Good comeback. Any other questions? Roll call vote?
Mr. Cullum?
Yes.
Mrs. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Barton?
Yes.
Mr. Schwab?
Yes.
Mr. Durbin?
Yes.
Mr. Gerloff?
Yes.
Mrs. Blondin?
Yes.
Mr. Costello?
Yes.
Mr. Deitch?
Yes.
Motion passes 9-0. So at this point, we'll close the meeting and turn it over to Mr. Hand.
One quick thing I want to remind you guys, if you're going to be handing things out, I really need to get it in time to have it in the packets.
Oh, sorry.
To the benefit of everybody.
Okay. Well, that's why I said I didn't think we really needed to act on it tonight necessarily, because I did just give it to you tonight. So.
But if you just want to disperse stuff, I would appreciate that.
Point taken.
Just to remind everybody. And then the other good news is hopefully Plaza Tire, they're hoping to open Wednesday. So that's pretty exciting.
Yeah. Looking good over there. It's got a nice fit.
Is there anything else coming up in the near future that you can talk about?
They're doing real good down on South 47. That's under
Oh,
roof,
yeah,
and
it's-
Yeah.
they're really making good progress on that project. So that's pretty exciting.
Anything for February yet, or still in the holding?
We'll have the discussion on the trailers.
Okay.
If that's the
Discussion
only thing on the agenda, I say let's do it in March.
Occupancy. I've got other items too, I believe will be on
Okay.
there.
So we're employed another month, is that what you're saying?
Absolutely.
Thank you, Jack. Anybody else have anything for the good of the group tonight? Once again, we'd like to welcome Stacy
Welcome,
to the
Stacy.
board and wish everybody a Happy New Year. And at this time, entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Mr.
Second.
Deitch, second by Mr. Costello, second by Mr. Deitch. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Have a nice evening. Thank you.